This is the story of the rise and fall of Daewoo Motors. Daewoo Motors, a South Korean automotive company, was established in 1937 as National Motors, and in fact it was the country's first automobile manufacturer. Early vehicles were apparently based on Austins, but by the 1950s they were producing a local version of the Nissan Bluebird 310, which had just finished production in Japan. By 1995, the company decided it wanted to have a crack at the European market, but all it had in its armoury were the brace of vehicles based on ancient Vauxhall Opel designs. The Aspiro, which was a Bertone redesign of the Mark II Cavalier, and the Nexia, which was based on the Mark II Astra. But the Daewoo point of difference is that it would sell these vehicles with a 3-year warranty and also with 3 years servicing. In 1995 alone, it took on 1,000 employees and opened 34 showrooms with 123 support centres in Halford stores across the UK, and its marketing spend approached £11.5 million in its first year alone. With this hassle-free, haggle-free approach and one of the most memorable taglines in the industry, "That'll be the Daewoo, how could it fail?"
£11,215 plus...
That's just for the car, Tom. Now add £605 for delivery and road tax, then add servicing, that's £472. Daewoo price forms help you compare the cost of buying and owning a Daewoo with buying and owning a competitor's car. Daewoo think that they should make it this easy. After all, an 8-year-old can do it.
Despite launching this brand from a standing start, this approach worked for them. In the first year they sold 13,000 cars, and by the end of the following year they'd actually sold 33,000 cars in total. A magnificent achievement. Just 5 years after launch, with the support of a heavyweight marketing campaign and improving products, Daewoo had already managed to achieve a 1.61% share of the UK market from virtually a standing start. This is an incredible achievement for a new brand. What Daewoo really needed was some bespoke designs of its own, and the answer came in the Jaguar Kensington, a design by Ital Design that was subsequently rejected by Jaguar due to their takeover by Ford. So the Daewoo Leganza was born, based on this Ital Design proposal, and arguably it became one of the prettiest Daewoo's they produced. Daewoo also benefited from another design from Ital Design, and this case it was the rejected proposal for the next Panda. This 3.5 metre MPV style small car subsequently became the Daewoo Matiz. As you'll hear shortly, the response from the marketing press to some of the vehicles could have been a little bit better.
It feels rather sluggish and underpowered. The suspension is extremely hard, making for a rather fidgety ride. And as for the steering, well, it's a bit too vague for my liking. And things don't fare much better with the gearbox and the clutch. The clutch is spongy and the gearbox is rather notchy and can be hard to actually get into gear. The whole driving experience is rather uneventful. You're certainly not going to buy the Nabira for thrill and driving excitement.
Despite the lukewarm press response and the need to take the vehicles to Halford for routine servicing, the advertising spend continued to work its magic in getting across the message of worry-free motoring.
One car company really does mould its cars around you and your family, giving 3 years free servicing, AA cover and warranty.
But there were some bumps in the road ahead. Daewoo's attempt to artificially set residual values by offering customers exceptional trading allowances to keep vehicles in the network did cause problems, to the extent that retailers of other brands simply wouldn't take a part exchange Daewoo against one of their vehicles. Despite the challenges, just 4 years after their launch, Daewoo was celebrating selling 100,000 new cars in the UK and achieving a market share of 1.36%. Putting this in context, it was outperforming the more established Mazda with 1.33%, Suzuki, Subaru and Daihatsu, all of whom were operating under 1% market share. Innovative, challenging and sometimes risque advertising were not the undoing of Daewoo. It was in actual fact circumstances beyond their control. In 2001, Daewoo's UK subsidiary was brought to its knees when the South Korean manufacturer went bankrupt under debts of 12 billion. Subsequently, General Motors snapped up the main assets of the bankrupt car maker for 1.37 billion. Eventually, Daewoo's UK operation was acquired by General Motors, who owned Vauxhall at the time. But those 150,000 Daewoo owners were left with a few problems. They found showroom doors locked and workshops deserted after the administrators took over the firm, and according to the Consumers Association, one of the worst depreciating brands on British roads. The pretty Leganza model was worth just 24% of its cost new after 3 years. With a change in ownership came the end of this innovative approach to retailing cars. And despite some pretty competent models, in actual fact share halved to just 0.77% of the UK market. The bad press seemingly damaging the brand beyond repair. By October 2004, the end had come. Customers buying a new Daewoo by the 15th of November had the opportunity to have it replaced by an equivalent Chevrolet badge model after 6 months. The models soldiered on under the Chevrolet brand in Europe, but that brand itself actually also disappeared just a few years later. Huge corruption scandal, Daewoo chairman Kim Woo-chung fled to Vietnam and former Daewoo factory workers put up wanted posters with his picture. The dream was finally over for Daewoo Motors. The end for the Daewoo Motors dream, it would take over another 20 years before this way of retailing cars would actually start to gain some level of acceptance. They were well ahead of their time. So thanks again for joining me on Lot 76 Cars. Please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.